Far beyond the pages of mainstream history, a mysterious empire lingers in whispers and old maps. Tartaria, sometimes called the Forgotten Empire, is a name that sparks curiosity, imagination, and even controversy. Was it a real civilization, a lost technological marvel, or merely a myth fueled by misunderstood history? Today, we dive into the story of Tartaria, the internet's favorite forgotten empire. In historical maps from the 16th to 19th centuries, Tartaria or Tartario appears as a vast, often undefined territory stretching across much of northern and central Asia. It was a label used by European mapmakers for lands beyond China, Russia, and Mongolia, lands largely unexplored from a Western perspective. For centuries, Tartary was a catch-all term, a mysterious land on the edge of the known world. It wasn't a single, unified empire in the way we think of the Romans or the Ottomans, but rather a name for a huge geographic area inhabited by various groups, most notably the Mongols and their descendants. This cartographic mystery box is where our story begins. A blank space on the map that has been filled with incredible theories. But it's not just maps that capture people's imaginations. Across Russia, Central Asia, and even parts of Europe, we find incredible architectural structures, grand buildings, intricate domes, massive fortresses that some theorists attribute to a lost Tartarian civilization. These structures, often labeled Russian Baroque or European Classicist, feature engineering and design so advanced that enthusiasts wonder, could they be remnants of a forgotten empire? Think about it: impossibly large doors, windows that start below ground level, and a style that seems almost too uniform to have developed independently across such vast distances. The sheer scale and beauty of these buildings make you question the conventional narrative. Were the people of the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries really capable of such grand construction with the tools we think they had? This is a central question for those who explore the Tartarian theory. Proponents of the Tartaria theory suggest that these buildings are evidence of a global civilization, one that was wiped from history by a massive cataclysm, often called the Mud Flood. According to this idea, a mysterious event, whether a natural disaster or something else entirely, buried entire cities, erased records, and forced a rewriting of maps and history books. This would explain why so many old buildings have floors buried deep beneath the current street level, and why there seems to be a historical reset around the 19th century. Skeptics, of course, argue that these are just modern reinterpretations of historical events like city leveling projects or natural soil accumulation. Yet, the allure of a hidden past, of a world deliberately concealed from us, is an undeniably powerful and irresistible idea. Supporters point to the scale and precision of so-called Tartarian architecture: massive bricks, enormous arches, and domes that seem almost impossible for the construction techniques of their reported time. Take a look at the star forts scattered across the globe. Their geometric precision is astounding, visible best from the air, long before flight was possible. How were they designed and built with such accuracy? Some even claim that the buildings were constructed using a forgotten form of technology, perhaps harnessing atmospheric energy or advanced acoustic principles. They believe these structures weren't just buildings. They were part of a sophisticated energy grid, blending art, science, and engineering in ways that rival even our modern skyscrapers. It's a fascinating thought that our ancestors might have possessed a scientific knowledge that we have since lost. The Tartaria narrative often intersects with the Industrial Revolution. Enthusiasts argue that global technological knowledge existed centuries earlier than conventional history suggests. They look at old infrastructure like canals, railways, and monumental buildings and see them as evidence of a highly advanced, interconnected civilization that predates our accepted timeline. Consider the World's Fairs of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Incredible, palace-like structures were supposedly built just for a temporary exhibition and then torn down. Could it be that these structures weren't built for the fairs, but were actually pre-existing buildings from this lost empire, simply repurposed and later demolished to hide the truth? This part of the theory suggests that much of what we attribute to the Industrial Revolution was not invention, but rediscovery, the unearthing of a forgotten world's technology. Of course, mainstream historians urge caution and offer more conventional explanations. Most of the evidence for Tartaria, they say, comes from misinterpreted maps, architectural marvels that do have documented construction histories, and speculative readings of historical events. The catch-all term Tartary on old maps, for instance, simply referred to lands inhabited by the Tatars, a Turkic people. The architectural similarities can be explained by the global spread of styles like neoclassicism. The mud flood hypothesis in particular has no verified archaeological support. Geologists and archaeologists have found no evidence of a single global flood event in recent history. The buried floors are often cellars or basements of buildings in cities that have raised their street levels over time for sanitation and infrastructure. Yet, the fascination remains, why do these stories resonate so deeply with so many people online? Perhaps it's the idea that history isn't fixed. Forgotten truths may still lie buried beneath the surface of what we think we know. Let's take a moment and just imagine. Imagine a city in Tartaria at its peak. Vast palaces topped with energy-harvesting spires, elaborate bridges spanning wide rivers, bustling markets. Filled with people from every corner of the globe and monumental public buildings, all constructed with breathtaking precision and beauty. Civilization that lives in harmony with nature, using clean, free energy. A world without the borders and conflicts that define our own. Whether real or myth, these images ignite the imagination. They challenge our assumptions about progress and show us what an alternative history of human achievement might look like. It's a vision of a past that could have been, and for some, a future we could still strive for. In the digital age, Tartaria has become a global phenomenon. YouTube channels, forums, and social media groups are filled with people debating its reality, sharing old maps, and scrutinizing architectural photographs. It has become a collaborative, crowdsourced investigation into a potential hidden history. For some, it's a cautionary tale about how easily history can be lost or rewritten by those in power. For others, it's proof that humanity's story may be far stranger, richer, and more magnificent than the textbooks admit. It has tapped into a growing distrust of official narratives and a desire to uncover a more inspiring and empowering version of our collective past. Ultimately, Tartaria, whether a forgotten empire or a modern myth, reminds us of the power of curiosity. It shows how history can be mysterious, contested, and very much a live and open invitation to question, to explore, and to imagine. Perhaps Tartaria never existed as a unified global empire, but in our collective imagination, it stands as a testament to humanity's endless desire to uncover the lost and the unknown, to look at the world around us with fresh eyes and ask, what if? From the edges of old maps to the endless pages of the internet, the story of Tartaria continues to intrigue, inspire, and challenge our understanding of the past. Whether it turns out to be truth, myth, or a little of both, it is a story that refuses to be forgotten, and it encourages us all to be a little more curious about the world we live in. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more dives into the mysteries of our world. See you next time.